Hey everybody, this is Steven from Pop Culture Maven, and we're back. We're back. Yes, after a long hiatus. If you watched the last show, I had said I went on a trip to Japan. I went over the Thanksgiving holiday. I was there about 2 weeks. There's a lot of stories to tell, but this is a comics review. We're back with reviewing. So here's the thing. There's a lot of books. Obviously, it's like 3 weeks worth of books missed or reviews. So what we'll do is we'll kind of hit the new stuff, and then we'll kind of get in some other ones. I'll try to go through. It's a pretty big week with those this week, so we'll try to get through as many as we possibly can, and then probably going forward we might double up. If you get a couple issues, like something that came out, and then the new issue comes out, we might just do a twofer. We've done that before with a couple. But hopefully soon I'll make some videos. I took tons of pictures in Japan. We went to both Disney Sea and Disneyland. We went to Mount Fuji. We did the Shibuya crosswalk. We were mostly in the Tokyo area, but we did, we went to the Ghibli Museum. Lots of really amazing stuff. It's, I cannot recommend, if you decide to take a trip overseas, Japan is absolutely amazing. It is truly amazing. And actually, English is pretty well understood. A lot of signs are both Japanese and English. So it's pretty easy to, communicate and stuff like that. Google Translate was a big help. I can tell you that it did help, but, it was amazing. Absolutely amazing. And so we'll talk about that later. So let's get to the books. Let's get going. First up, we have Batman Santa Claus, The Silent Night, #1, written by Jeff Parker with artwork by, Michelle Bandini. So basically what it is it takes Santa Claus, you have Krampus, then there's these vampire, kind of bat creatures. It kind of look like Man-Bat a little bit, but they're vampires. And so what it is both Santa Claus and Krampus kind of got trapped in our world. And, basically the Krampus is now a monster and is, there's kind of the eternal battle of the two of them. Santa keeps them in check, and they come to Gotham, and then that's where Batman and the whole, Nightwing and all the Batgirl and all the other ones come in. It's a pretty basic story. What it's going to be, it's a 4-issue miniseries that comes out each week in December. So it's kind of the perfect thing for Christmas. It was actually pretty decent. The big surprise, let me first say that Parker, once again, it's a pretty basic story. I was really big fan of his Future Quest that he did a number of years ago, which was the based on the Hanna-Barbera superhero universe characters, and I really enjoyed that book. But the really big surprise was Bandini's artwork. It's really good looking book. A lot of times when you have these event books, sometimes the art is not always, the cream of the crop, but I really have to say Bandini did a really nice job here. It's a really good looking book, and, it kind of gets you in the mood for Christmas, but with, monsters, Santa, and vampire bats. So, it's kind of a win. I enjoyed it. That was a good thing. I actually really enjoyed it, and it kind of gave me enough reason to, like, hey, I might check this out for 4 issues. So I think it's, didn't knock my, socks off, but I enjoyed it, which is sometimes half the battle. So I think it's worth checking out. Next up, keeping in the Christmas vein, we have Creepshow Holiday Special 2023. There's 2 stories. Christmas Man, written by Daniel Kraus with artwork by Jonathan Wasak, and then there's Package Thieves, written by James Asmus, with artwork by Letizia Condesini. So as with all the creep shows, these are standalone stories, but these are set in the holidays. The first one is about it's a Christmas Man, and it's about it's kind of like Christmas Eve, and these three brothers are teasing their little sister because she still believes in Santa Claus, and then they say that, well, there's a Santa Claus, but then there's this Christmas Man who's like a monster who is tries to capture Santa Claus each year, but he gets away. But the whole reason the reason that the stockings are the shape they are is because he needs the stockings for his feet because he lost his toes to frostbite. And so I don't want to really give away anymore because, it is a short story, but shall we say, the Christmas Man does come true. So, the boys reap what they sow on picking on their sister. I will say that. It was a neat little story. Waysak's artwork was really nice. Had kind of really reminded me a little bit of Sam Keith a little bit in a good way. And, it was a nice, fun story. Package Thief was basically about these two women who steal packages. And when they take them, there's like body parts, like there's an eye. It's like, I see you, and stuff like that. And so what it is they take them and they resell them and stuff like that. And so, there's this mysterious figure obviously seeing what they're doing, and it's like, karma will come back and get you. That's the basic story, of that. Once again, the story's nice. Candassini's artwork's nice, gets the job done. It was, they were fun, good horror Christmas stories, which is always, you don't get many of those. So yeah, it was kind of fun. And once again, it kind of gets you in a Christmas spirit, but kind of in a different way. Kind of like how Die Hard is a Christmas movie. Let's just throw that out on the floor. Die Hard is a Christmas movie. Next up, we have Sentry No. 1, written by Jason Liu with artwork by Luigi Zagaria. So what it is Sentry has apparently passed away, dead or whatever, and so what it is that his powers are now going out, instead of like to one person, it's going out to multiple people. And so what it is, you have these people that all of a sudden get powers. They kind of get some different powers, and so they kind of have to deal with it. And then you find out that there's one person who has gotten the power that is kind of like the bad guy who basically hunts down these other ones so he can get all the Sentry powers. That's a basic story. It has Jessica Jones and Misty Knight, trying to figure out what's going on because there's this explosion in the city, and they think the Sentry's back. But, they will soon discover that it's multiple Sentries, basically. The story was fine. I think it was pretty basic. I mean, it wasn't great and it wasn't terrible. It was very, kind of somewhat average superhero. It got the job done, but it didn't, really, wasn't particularly compelling. The art was nice. I will definitely give Zagaria, the art was really nice on it. But, once again, it's pretty standard fare. And it's, it's just one of those things with all the books that come out, it's kind of just not good enough. So I would say that that's a pass this week. And next up we have Somnia, written and drawn by Becky Cloonan and Tulululote. They actually split the artwork. What's really interesting about this is, so the story is basically Ingrid's having, she's kind of having these nightmares, but they're kind of like sexual nightmares. Part of it is, her husband Roland, now this takes place in the 1600s. So obviously, women's job is to like pretty much take care of everything and do what they're told. So there's a lot of repression. And then of course there's sexual repression along that goes with it. And so what it is Ingrid's having these nightmares, and she's having these nightmares about this kind of being or whatever, kind of like a, somewhat of a demon, but not necessarily scary, saying, hey, you should have sex. It's good. And it's not a bad thing. And then of course her husband's kind of like basically a witch hunter. Like, and if he finds out she's having these dreams, he'll probably burn her at the stake. And so there's that going on. Then one of her friends, there's a secret going on with her, which I will not reveal, but it was quite interesting. I actually really enjoyed. This is the second book coming from Distillery. Once again, we're all very familiar with both Becky Cloonan and Tallulah Lote. What I liked about this book, especially with the artwork, is during when she's awake, Cloonan does the artwork on that, and then during the dream sequences, Lote does that. And there's times where there's a little bit of both on each page, which is visually very fascinating. I think one thing that was really I appreciated was, that this was a very, female centric story, done by two very talented women. And it kind of goes back to the thing that I've always said, kind of about diversity in comics. I think for me, diversity needs to be different voices need to be heard in telling different stories. And that's what I really loved about this book is, even though, obviously I can't relate to the 1600s, I'm also a guy. But I found the story very fascinating and really was able to get in with the characters and everything. And I really, really liked it a lot. And it definitely has a great aura of mystery around it, which is very fascinating, with kind of the sexual repression and the period and everything. And then of course witch burning is always kind of an intriguing subject, or can be. So I really, really like this book a lot. I'm really impressed with Distillery's books so far. And they've got a lot more. I also like the big format, the magazine format. It really lets in this case, you really see that artwork pop really nicely. So definitely check out that book. I really, really liked it a lot. Next up, we have Hellboy Winter Special, The Yule Cat, written and drawn by Matt Smith. So as always, there's always kind of a winter special or holiday special, and kind of ties into the Christmas season. And in a way, and this is not so much a Christmas story this year, but what it is it's set in 1990 and in Iceland. And there's this children's fable about a Jockatern, which is a big cat that, like, if kids are bad, it'll come and eat them. And so, weird things have been happening in the town. So they basically call the BRPD, and they send Hellboy comes over there, and there's a giant monster cat. And so he basically, is there to vanquish the cat. I really like these are great because they're one and done stories. And they always have different creators. Smith has done a number of Hellboy books, and so this is I don't know if he's written before, but the story's really good. It's once again, it's kind of since it's a single issue, it's somewhat of a short story because it has a beginning, middle, and end. And he really just hits all the right notes and everything. And then the artwork is actually really, really nice. So if you're a Hellboy fan, or even, kind of looking to just read a Hellboy story, these things are great because they're just one and dones. And that's really what I love about them. And this one was really a lot of fun. Next up, we have Thunderbolts #1, written by Jackson Lansing and Colin Kelly, with artwork by Geraldo Borges. So what this is so you have, the team is basically Bucky Barnes, this is a long one, Contessa Valentina Allegra de Fontaine. Then you have Sharon Carter, and then the Red Guardian. And what it is, he's getting a team together because the Red Skull is up to his old tricks. Beating up Nazis is always kind of a win. So what it is they're heading to go, get Red Skull. And, it was an interesting book. I will say that the artwork is actually really nice. Borges did a really nice job on the artwork. But once again, it's kind of standard fare. It's like, okay, get the team together. Let's go fight the bad guy. But then the bad guy's not there, but we'll still we'll beat up some Nazis while we're here. It was fine, but it was just, once again, kind of average, decent story and everything. I mean, for me, the artwork kind of made it a little better than a lot of like average books. But once again, the story, not bad, not great, kind of okay. So, I wouldn't, say it's a high recommendation. I mean, if you like the characters, yeah, but it's okay. So next up we have Birds of Prey #4, written by Kelly Thompson with artwork by Leonardo Romero. So we're still in the first story arc on this, where the team has gone to Theraschema to rescue Black Canary's sister Sin, and we saw at the end of last issue that Diana, Wonder Woman, has come back to Theraschema because she's gotten the call. There's a lot of fighting. Barda and Wonder Woman go at, and it's not a pretty sight. It's really some spectacular visuals that Romero gets to really go to town on this issue. But really, kind of what's going on is that one of the Amazons had a dream about Sin and this, monster or spirit, Megara, and that there's some sort of connection. That's why, they kidnapped her. And then Megara comes to Theraschema, and it looks like it's possessed or taken hold of Wonder Woman, so that might not be good. I'm really kind of digging this book. I'm having a lot of fun with it, and I think this, Thompson and Romero are really starting off on a really good story arc, kind of getting the team together, but, having fun with it. I mean, there's definitely there's humor in it and everything. And there's a lot of action, and I really want to point out Jordi Belair's art, really color work on this book. She's really doing a different style, and I really dig it how, her use of colors. I mean, she's a brilliant colorist. And I really like how this is just kind of very different, and I'm really digging it. I definitely still think it's well worth checking out this book. I'm really liking what Thompson and Romero are doing, and it'll be interesting to see how this first story arc lands, and then how they build from there, with the team after this. Basically the setup here has been to rescue Sin, but it'll be interesting to see where it goes from there, down after this first story arc. Next up we have Fire and Ice #2, written by Bill Willingham with artwork by Leonardo Manco. So once again, as I said with the first issue, you really have to have seen the Fire and Ice film, the Ralph Bakshi film, and the designs of the characters were done by Frank Frazetta. And so what it is, so basically you have the so it starts off this issue because there's Dark Wolf and Rolly's son, who's a giant. They're battling, and that comes from the first issue. But really, kind of the big setup here is that Queen Juliana, that Necron has murdered his brother and blamed it on the other kingdoms, they came to kill him. So he's kind of setting up to kind of he's setting up to be the villain. Once again, if you've seen the film, you kind of know Necron. And so really that's what's kind of going on. So you have the Dark Wolf story kind of going on, then you have the Necron and his mom Juliana, story, and it's setting that up for the the war that's going to be coming to the kingdoms. As anything, as with Willingham when he built Fables, he's building a story here. So it's there's kind of there's a lot going on, but there's kind of not a lot going on. But really, honestly, for I really have to give it to Dynamite that Manco's artwork is this is a damn good looking book. Once again, I think you have to be a fan of Fire and Ice, the movie, to appreciate the book. I mean, if you, and once again, it's not like the movie was particularly brilliant, but it was a lot of fun. It was sword and sorcery and, that kind of thing. It was the whole point of it was like a Frazetta, painting coming to life. That was really, pretty the basic story there, good versus evil. And that's really what Willingham's doing here with the book. And then you have Manco's artwork is just fantastic. I think if you're a fan of the movie, you're gonna enjoy the book. I like what Willingham's doing. He's building a story, so there's a lot going on, but once again, it's kind of a methodical unveiling of the story. He's not giving everything away right away, so I'm enjoying it. Next up, we have Midnight Show #3, written by Colin Bunn with artwork by Brian Hurt. Once again, so what it was is there was this film kind of aka the Universal Monsters, but we don't call them that because that's a licensing thing. And basically what it is when they showed this film in the town of Cedar Bluffs, everything came to life. They came to life because of this film. So you have Dracula, Frankenstein, Creature from the Black Lagoon, the Wolfman, and the Mummy. So you have them all. And so what it is so, basically they've been attacking the townspeople, and Dracula is basically trying to recreate a ritual where he'll become, kind of the king of the monsters. And so Van Helsing has come into the story. He's come to life in the town, and he's going to stop the monsters. And one of the things he points out is, one of the things that, we're going to have a hard time, killing the monsters, but they're going to hate each other, so we can get them to kill each other. So that'll be good. So that's kind of what's going on in this issue. But if you're a fan of the Universal Monsters, this has been a really fun book. Bun's doing a really neat story. It's not really deep or anything, but he's having a lot of fun with it. Hurt's artwork's actually really, really nice. I'm really digging this book. But once again, I'm a fan of the Universal Monsters, so I think if you're a fan of Universal Monsters, you should be checking out this book. Next up, we have Invasive #1. Also written by Colin Bunn, with artwork by Jesus Hervez. So what the basic premise here is, Dr. Carrie Reynolds, she runs a group for plastic surgeon addicts. They constantly feel the need to get plastic surgery, and so also her daughter has mysteriously disappeared. So then we find out that along the way that there's these weird medical procedures that are kind of happening where people are, getting abducted on the street, and, stuff's happening to them. And we find out that there's this, basically mad scientist who's doing, not so much experiments, but doing things. And I think, it seems to be in the vein of like some sort of weird plastic surgery thing. We'll see. It was interesting. I mean, it definitely, I think it's got some good ideas. I wouldn't say that I was necessarily blown away by this first issue, but I think there was some interesting things. Hervey's artwork's nice. I like how it kind of has a black and white, but with, kind of a limited color palette. It has, I mean, it's in color, but it kind of has kind of a muted color palette, which is really interesting. So it's not really black and white, but it definitely has kind of a more of a that kind of feel with kind of a darker color palette. I thought it was okay. I mean, you might want to look through it at your local comic shop and kind of check it out. I think it's got some good ideas. I just don't know that I was 100% sold on this first issue. Next up are Bones Dust #1, written and drawn by Ben Steinbeck. So what the premise here is, so it's a big surprise, post-apocalyptic. Wow, we haven't had one of those comics in maybe a week. So basically what it is post-apocalyptic. What the people that are left have pretty much become cannibals, and that's how they eat, and there's not much water. But what's interesting is that there's kind of these aliens coming to Earth to kind of like, do research, like kind of what has happened and all that kind of stuff. And so, we kind of get introduced to these tribes, different tribes. We don't really know names or anything. But what's interesting is that the alien, the one alien that's come down is very fascinated by, stuff on Earth. And so he's kind of caught in the middle of like, there's something going on with like the tribes, like there's something more going on than them just killing and eating each other. So there's something else. That's kind of the basic setup for this first issue. I thought it was really intriguing. I mean, there was kind of a lot going on, but you're not quite sure what's going on, which is not necessarily a bad thing. I mean, to ask a lot of questions. The artwork's really nice. That Steinbeck does a really nice job. And I think it's an interesting story considering, how many, I mean, there's a lot of post-apocalyptic stories we've gone through, and I'm sure there's going to be more coming. But I think this had an interesting first issue, and there was definitely enough for me to like, hey, let's see what he does in the second issue. Like, with this. So next up, we have Fantastic Four number 14, written by Ryan North with artwork by Ivan Ferrelli. So what this is so in the timeline of this book, 1 year ago, Reed sent the Baxter building with the kids into the future 1 year so they would come back, to basically save them because the negative zone opened up and there was no way they were going to win against it. So they sent the kids in the Baxter building to be safe for a year, kind of in a, stasis where they would just, when they would come back, it would be like no time was lost. But of course the Fantastic Four would be a full year. So they go back to New York and, they go back to, where the hole is, where the building is. And there's like people building stuff. And you find out there's villains there like building stuff. And then really part of the story is that there's this guy who creates this web or, this app that gives people, kind of tells them what they're, instead of having choices, like if you do this, this will happen in your timeline where you can kind of change to make things better. Well, the problem is that somebody has hacked into his algorithm and is, it's going south. So the Fantastic Four, more so Reed, has to come in and kind of fix it. And, that's a basic thing. And there's a twist at the end that I did not quite see coming. I'm really a big fan of this book. I like the fact that Ryan North is writing the story about the Fantastic Four as a family. It's not a big action superhero book, which it seems to be not sitting well with some people, but that's what I love about this book is that Ryan North is really getting to the core of what the Fantastic Four is, and it's a family. It just is not just another superhero book, and that's what I love about this book. Fernelli's artwork is really, really good here. Does a really nice job. Once again, I'm a big fan of this book, and I still think it's well worth checking out. So, you need to really, I know there's a trade of, I think, the first 6 issues. If it hasn't come out, I know it's coming out soon, but definitely check this book out. I really like it. Next up, we have Batman Offworld number 1, written by Jason Aaron with artwork by Doug Mankey. So the big thing about this is first, I don't know if Jason Aaron's written for DC, but this is his first Batman story. So that was kind of a big thing. So what the basic premise is that Batman has gotten, a ship from Star Labs, goes out to, the edge of the universe or something like that. And we find out kind of later in the issue that there's an alien that came to Earth and he's trying to find out, hey, what's going on? Why is this alien on Earth and what's going on? So when his ship gets boarded, basically kind of like by space pirates, it's kind of the easiest way to say it, and it's like a prison ship. Like they find any captives, they take the ship, they strip it, and anybody that's on there is like, well, they're a prisoner and they can do work and do other things. And so, of course, they try to capture Batman. It does not go well. They send the robots. Does not go well for the robots. But then the kind of like the captain comes in and Batman punches him, and then he gets the crap kicked out of him and gets knocked out. So, and now he's trying to kind of, now that he's a prisoner, he's trying to kind of figure out what's going on. So that's really the premise here. It's kind of an interesting story, especially for Batman, because usually you send like Superman out for this stuff. So I think, with Aaron using Batman, this is kind of, dude, Batman ain't got no powers. And, they took all his crap from his utility belt. So he's kind of screwed right now. And these aliens are big and tough. Like he tried to hit him with like electric knuckles and just didn't do anything. So, it's very interesting. I mean, I think it's kind of a different approach. I mean, I don't know that I'm still sold on him going out in the middle of space or whatever. That's kind of weird. But, I'm willing to go with it. It's a really interesting story. And then you have Mankey's artwork it's a really good looking book. So it'll be interesting to see, where this goes. I don't know if it's like a mini series or, I'm sure it's kind of a finite, I just don't know how many issues, but it was interesting. I mean, it was really wild, but it was interesting. And, so I think it's well worth checking out. I know that came out a few weeks ago and you might might still be able to find it at your comic shop. It was pretty wild. Next up, we have Fire and Ice. Welcome to Smallville, #4, written by Joanna Starr, with artwork by Natasha Busto. I hope I got that right. Apologies if I didn't. Really, I'm digging this book. So basically, Fire and Ice, Clark has sent them to Smallville because they, not so much they mess up, but they need to kind of like get it together. So they've been there. Martha's kind of keeping an eye on him. So they started. They bought, or they're in a beauty shop, and they've been living above it. And then of course the first few issues, there's all these villains, and now Fire has decided to create this fight club. And so this issue, Lobo comes to town and wants to join the fight club, and it does not go well. And then now there's kind of some brewing between Fire and Ice, where they've always kind of had this like yin and yang sort of relationship, and it's kind of been coming to a head. And it's now that they're in Smallville, it's kind of like, the tensions are running a little bit, it's very strained. But it really, I'm digging this book. I really like what Starr's doing with the story. Busto's artwork is really, really nice. There is this one panel that has Crypto in it. I won't say why he's there, but it's really funny. I'm just really digging this book. I mean, at first I wasn't really wasn't sold. There was a Power Girls backup. It was kind of an okay story, but boy, they've really done a lot. Honestly, this really kind of reminds me a little bit of Justice League International, where it just has a good sense of humor and everything, and it's a lot of fun. And I'm really digging it. So definitely. I know this is not a big selling book, and it's probably going to be really hard to find the first 3 issues. I'd say, if it's something, if you're sounding like I'm selling it well enough, I'd check out the trade when it comes out. But I'm really kind of digging this book. It's a lot of fun. Next up, we have Wonder Woman #3, written by Tom King and Daniel Sampere. And then there's a backup, World's Finest Part 1, written by Tom King, with artwork by Belen Ortega. So basically what's happened is there's an Amazonian that came to the U.S., killed a bunch of bikers in a bar, and now they basically any Amazon is not welcome. And so Sergeant Steele has tried the last issue to go after Wonder Woman with the army and the tanks. It did not go well. You're going up against Wonder Woman. You got your butt kicked. So she decides to go to his office. And of course, it's kind of a secret office. And then, she works her way up to his floor, and, to kind of talk to him and say, hey, you brought Steve Trevor into this. What's going on? And there is kind of a secret revealed. And it also kind of, it goes into Trinity, which is a newer character, which we kind of don't know about, which also leads into the backup story. But before I get to the backup story, I really, honestly, Daniel Sampere is just knocking out of the park on this book. I mean, Tom King, I'm a big Tom King fan. I'm really liking what he's doing with Wonder Woman. It's really it's a different take, but he's not changing her. And that's the big key, is that he's not changing her. He's just telling a good Wonder Woman story, which is not an easy task. A lot of people tried it, and it's tough. But Sampere's artwork's really nice. But the backup takes place in the future. It's a very young, Trinity's maybe like 4 or 5. And so Damien and John are kind of babysitting her. And so John has to go on a mission. So Damien takes her on, because Killer Croc's on the loose. Let's put it this way. Killer Croc had to go to the hospital after Trinity, being 4 or 5 years old, kicked his butt. So it was really, really fun. And Ortega's artwork's really, really nice. It really captures the humor of that short story. I really love this book. I cannot recommend it enough. You really need to be checking out Wonder Woman. It's really, really good. Next up, we have Transformers #3, written and drawn by Daniel Warren Johnson. It's Transformers. It's Daniel Warren Johnson doing Transformers. I'm not even that big of a Transformers fan, but you got me a Daniel Warren Johnson, and he is knocking this book out of the park. This issue has a big fight between Skywarp and Optimus Prime. This is a damn good book. I love this book to death. I love that Daniel's doing his style. He's not, really like making sure that they look all perfect and everything, that they look like, they should. He's doing the book his way, and that's what is really that's what I love about this book. It's him doing the Transformers his way. But he's not poo-pooing the characters or anything. He's not trying to reinvent the wheel here. He's just telling a really damn good story, and that story involves, human characters, and that is a great balance. He's really balanced this whole story. It's fun, it has action, it's got everything. Even if you're not a Transformers fan, this book is just great. I cannot recommend it enough. Just go buy this damn book because it's that good. Next up, we have Batman 89 Echoes #1, written by Sam Hamm and drawn by Joe Quinones. Now, this is a sequel to the Batman 89, which was what it was is Sam Hamm wrote the screenplay for the original Batman, and it's kind of like taking excuse me, those elements excuse me, and building on there was certain ideas, like Billy D. Williams was eventually going to be Two-Face. It didn't happen, but in the first miniseries, they made Billy D. Williams into Two-Face. So this is kind of continuation. Batman has left Gotham. He's not around. Even Alfred doesn't know where he is. But Barbara Gordon is now commissioner. And the interesting twist that Hamm has thrown in here is we get introduced to Harley Quinn. So now he's bringing her into the Batman 89 mythology. So that's kind of an interesting thing. And I really don't want to say any more we do get to see Bruce, but it's a bit of a surprise where he's been. This is, like I said, this is the same team who did the first one, which was really a lot of fun. Joe Quinones really does a great job. He captures like Michael Keaton looks like Michael Keaton and everything. And this is a lot of fun. And I like how this one is really kind of going in a bit of a different direction than the first one. The first one was kind of, somewhat of a setup to that universe, where now they've set that universe up and we can just go. And I really, really dig this book. The story's really, Hamm's script is really good. Quinones' artwork is really, really pretty. It's a good looking book. If you're a fan of the Keaton Batmans, definitely pick this book up. Next up, we have Wesley Dodd, the Sandman #2, written by Robert Venditti with artwork by Riley Rossmo. So at the end of the last issue, Wesley Dodd's house was set on fire because somebody has stolen his gas, formulas. And these are the deadly formulas. These are not just like sleeping formulas. These are scary stuff. And so now he has to kind of go and figure out who stole them and why. So that's really kind of what's going on in the second issue. And he's out looking for clues. I really like this. I'm a big fan of kind of the Golden Age Sandman and Silver Age. And I really like what Vendetti's doing here. He's building a nice story. It's obviously a period piece, which is always, you kind of got me a period piece. I love period pieces. But also you really had me at Riley Rossmo. I really am a big fan of Rossmo's artwork. I know it's not to everybody's liking, but I really think he does a wonderful job. And I'm really digging the book. I'm having a lot of fun with it. And I like how Vendetti's really unfolding the story and, kind of playing, especially with the period, because they don't have cell phones and stuff like that. So it's kind of like, it fits the character and it really is good. And once again, the story's great. Rossmo's art's great. I'm digging this book. I really think it's well worth checking out. Next up, we have Fishflies, number 3, written and drawn by Jeff Lemire. What it is there's a criminal, shot a boy and he's in a coma, and so he got attacked by the fish flies. Now he's a giant fly creature, and he's ended up on a farm with this girl Frances, and her dad's he's just a asshole, and he beats her, somewhat beats her, and Officer Danny Lecour or Lequette, he's trying to figure out where the criminal is. Of course nobody knows he's turned into this like weird creature, but he ends up on the farm, and he kind of has words with Fred, kind of like he knows that Fred's kind of a drunk and an asshole. And so, and then of course Frances is kind of befriending, the fly creature, but she doesn't know that he's the one that shot the boy. So there's kind of a lot. I mean, there's a lot going on, and I really like how Lemire is unfolding this story. I know that not everybody is a big fan of Lemire's artwork, but I really, he's really knocking it out of the park on this. And I really love, he's using that limited color palette, using color when it needs to. It's a really great looking book. I'm loving the story. I'm really getting to be a big fan of Frances. She's really just a great little character. All the characters are really good. I'm really digging this book a lot. I'm a big fan of Lemire, and pretty much anything he does, I'll buy. So, definitely continue to check this out. It's bi-monthly, but it's almost like you're getting 2 issues at one time, because it is a double-sized book. So it's it's a really good deal. You're getting 2 books for $6 basically. So, it's just go buy Fishflies. It's that damn good. Next up, we have, Operation Sunshine, written by, I totally botched this, Henry Zabowski and Marcus Parks, with artwork by David Rubin. So what this is so vampires are real. They kind of live in the real world. And the girl has stumbled across like this kind of underpinning, like there's something going on in the vampire world, like the bigger, there's people that are have been vampires forever, and then there's like the people who have been turned, and so there's kind of like a rift between the two of them, and so they stumble across this kind of like secret underworld of the real vampires. And it's this issue is kind of building. There's a lot of lot going on in this issue, but it's mostly in like the dialogue. Like we're learning things about this this real vampire kind of underground thing. So they're kind of coming into a mystery of the whole thing. So there's a lot to take in this issue. I mean, the story is very, very dense this issue, but but that's what I like, how the first issue kind of moved along, and now we're kind of getting to the kind of meat of what is kind of going on here. So it's really interesting, and really my big thing, the main reason I picked it up was because of David Rubin's artwork. He's absolutely fantastic, but I'm very intrigued by the story there. Like I said, there's a lot going on in this issue, so it's one of those things that you really have to kind of take your time to kind of read it and kind of unravel what's going on in this world. It's really intriguing. I dug the first issue. I like the second issue, but once again, it's kind of a second issue, so it's that building process. So just be patient with it. But there's definitely a lot here that is definitely good and building towards the story. I really like this. definitely check this book out. Next up, we have Superman 78, The Metal Curtain, #2, written by Robert Venditti with artwork by Gavin Gildry. What this is, so once again, it's like Batman 89, but it's like Superman 78 from the Richard Donner film. And so it once again is, so the premise here is that there has been kryptonite that has landed in Russia, and Russia wants their own superhero. So they've basically created Metallo. So that was set up in the first issue. So this one, Superman takes Lois to the Fortress of Solitude. Is going to reveal that he's Clark Kent, because he's fallen in love with her. But right before he reveals, there's this plane going, I guess, over Russia, and it gets attacked by Metallo. So Superman goes and saves the plane, but then he gets attacked by Metallo, who has kryptonite, and that is Superman's weakness. So that's the basic premise here. Once again, it's a pretty light on story, but it's taking that premise of the Superman 78 mythology, and adding to it, and I really like it. And Vendetti's, adding some new stuff that Superman's parents are still alive. They live in a bottle, like the bottle city of Kandor. And then Gidry's doing a really nice job of capturing the actors and everything. It's just a fun book. If you're a fan of Superman, the original 78 movie, then you're going to love this stuff. And I'm a huge fan of that film. I still think to this day it is the best superhero movie ever made. It's just that good. But in the book's a lot of fun, so definitely check it out. And finally this week, we have Shazam #6, written by Mark Waid and Dan Mora. So this is the end of the first story arc. So what it is the gods have not been happy with Billy, being Shazam, so they kind of took control of him. And so he's finally figured out what's going on. So the rest of the family basically comes to rescue Billy and Freddy, and they go up against the gods. And so that's kind of what happens in this issue. And I don't want to really give much more away, because the battle with the gods is freaking amazing and hilarious at the same time. I got to give it to Mark Waid for doing that, and then visually Dan Mora pulls it off amazingly. I'm really digging this book. I love, Mark's such a big fan of like superheroes, and I just love his take of Shazam. This is a book that we've been needing for like a long time. It's fun. It has action. You have Dan Mora doing the artwork. What more could you ask for? It's just a fun superhero book. I mean, I'm a big fan of Shazam, or Captain Marvel as he should be called. But it definitely, they're doing a great job here, and it's definitely still worth picking up. I love this book to death. I can't wait to see where they take the next story arc, because they build a lot here with this first story arc, with not only Billy but the family and everything. There's dinosaurs in it. You have a T-Rex accountant. What more could you ask for? It's just go buy this book, and I think they'll be, since this is the first story arc, they should collect this in a trade. So definitely, if you miss the book, pick up the trade when it comes out, because this really is good. That's going to do it this week. Thanks for watching. It's a long one. We had a lot of books to get through, but as always, we'll make this quick. Public service announcement. I get all my comics at Pulp Fiction Comics in Long Beach, California. Ryan Skinner runs a great store, even though I haven't seen it for a few weeks. It's a really good store. If you're in the Long Beach area, definitely check it out. It's well worth going to. There, Annie, Wendy, Derek. Derek does all their socials. Check out their Facebook group page. They always have stuff going on at the store. Check out their Facebook page, because they always say what's going on at the store. And as always, we end our show with be kind to each other, be kind to yourself. Take care of yourselves. I know the holiday season can be joyful, but it can also be tough for some people. So really take care of yourselves. That's really one of the most important things at this time, any time of the year. But I know it's hard for some people during the holidays. So if you can, and that's where being kind really comes in handy, because somebody might be having a bad day. You say hi to them, acknowledge people, somebody's walking a dog. Hey, how you doing? Or opening a door for somebody. It's the little things in life that really make an impact or can make a huge impact on people. So please take care of yourselves. Take care of your family and friends. That's going to do it. Thanks for watching. We'll do some more catch up next week. I know we're a little bit late. It's been a rough week trying to get back into the groove of everything, but we'll keep moving forward with comic reviews. Thanks for watching. As always, please like and subscribe to our YouTube channel. It's always appreciated. Comments are welcome. And thanks for watching. This is Steven from PopCultureMaven.com signing off for this week. Take care of yourselves. Be kind. And we'll do it again next week. Thanks a lot. All right. Bye-bye.